Today I want to direct your attention to the Old Testament, to the prophetical book of Micah. Micah was a contemporary of the prophet Isaiah. And interestingly, in our passage for today, Micah chapter 4, verses 1 through 5, verses 1 to 3 in Micah chapter 4 are also found in Isaiah chapter 2, verses 2, 3, and 4. So I wonder, did God speak to Micah and Isaiah at the same time? Did they talk together about their ministry and what they were hearing from God, that both of them share the same statement? And our verse for the day is verse 4. But they shall all sit under their own vines and under their own fig trees, and no one shall make them afraid. For the mouth of the Lord of hosts has spoken. In Micah chapter 4, beginning at verse 1 through chapter 5, verse 15, we have prophecies of Israel's glorious future and the restoration of the Davidic kingdom, or a king coming from the line of David. And in these early verses in chapter 4, verses 1 through 5, you hear about this idea of everyone coming to the mountain of the Lord. And people shall stream to it, and many nations shall come to it, saying, Come, let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, to the house of the God of Jacob, that he may teach us his ways, and that we may walk in his paths. And this is also the passage in verse 3 that talks about beating their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Neither nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. And boy, don't we long for that to happen. And it's something that only, frankly, God can do, is to resolve the unending story of violence that has been the history of humanity, unfortunately, on the earth, going all the way back to Cain killing his brother Abel. But I think it's helpful and hopeful to hear this prophecy of believing that this is God's intention. This is God's desire, that the day will come when everyone will seek to learn God's ways and to walk in them, because peace and security ultimately come through obedience. And the hope of people sitting under their own vines and fig trees, which is symbolic of having food and prosperity and peace, and no one shall make them afraid. And you may, if those of you who may be musical fans, may know that this verse, Micah 4:4, is even referenced in the musical Hamilton. And if you've seen the musical, you can recall the scene when that verse is sung. As we focus on choosing hope over fear this Advent, know that's a choice God wants you and I to make every day, and that it's also God's divine will for humanity. Is a time when we can, all humanity can sit and have enough to eat and not be afraid.